I felt a rush of excitement over my latest promotion and couldn't wait to share the news on my 5th wedding anniversary with my husband David and my mother-in-law, Mrs. Morrison. But everything I expected for the night was shattered beyond recognition. Instead of a celebration, I was faced with an anger so intense it left me breathless. In a shocking turn of events, David stood up and grabbed the anniversary cake, throwing it straight onto my head, leaving me drenched in sweat. At that moment, a fierce determination ignited within me. I knew I had to leave this toxic relationship, but I couldn't just walk away. I wanted revenge. Just a few weeks later, my life began to change in ways I never anticipated. What followed would leave everyone speechless. My name is Amanda, and I'm a financial analyst living in Boston. It's amazing how life can turn in the blink of an eye. I used to think everything was going according to plan and that my life was perfect. But on the night of my 5th wedding anniversary, everything shifted. I recall that evening vividly, the sun setting and casting a golden glow over the city, while I buzzed with excitement. I had just received a major promotion, something I had worked tirelessly for over several years. I prepared to share this milestone with David and Mrs. Morrison during our anniversary dinner, hoping for laughter, smiles, and perhaps even a toast to mark my success. The restaurant was chic, the lighting soft, and there was a gentle clinking of glasses around us. Seated at our table, I took a moment to appreciate the beautiful surroundings and the company. David had always been my greatest supporter, or so I believed. He smiled at me, his eyes lit with anticipation as I gathered the courage to announce my news. "David, Mrs. Morrison," I said, heart pounding. "I have some fantastic news. I've been promoted to senior financial analyst." The words lingered in the air as I waited for cheers, applause, or at least a few congratulatory words. But instead, I was met with a heavy silence. Mrs. Morrison's expression darkened, and a chill ran down my spine. "Is this why we raised him?" She finally spat, her voice dripping with disdain. "To be overshadowed by his wife's career." I blinked, stunned by her reaction. I had anticipated pride, or at least some happiness. Instead, I felt like I had just committed a crime. David shifted uncomfortably in his seat, and I saw the conflict in his eyes. He wanted to support me, but he was caught between me and his mother. "Mom, it's great news for Amanda. We should be celebrating her achievement," he said weakly, but his voice lacked conviction. Mrs. Morrison wasn't finished. "What about starting a family, Amanda? Do you think a promotion can replace the joy of children?" Her words were a sharp blade, cutting deep, and I felt a wave of anger rise. I took a steadying breath, struggling to keep my composure. "I believe I can balance both my career and family, Mrs. Morrison. This promotion means a lot to me." David looked down at the table, avoiding my gaze. "Amanda, maybe we should consider what Mom's saying," he murmured, his tone cool and distant. My heart sank. This wasn't the supportive partner I thought I had married. "I can't just quit my job to meet your mother's expectations," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I deserve respect for my hard work." The tension grew thick, and I could feel the eyes of other diners on us. David's demeanor shifted, and I saw the frustration building. "You're being unreasonable, Amanda. You're my wife, not my competitor. Why can't you see that?" His words stung, even more than any physical pain could. "This isn't a competition, David. I'm trying to share my success with you," I replied, voice trembling, tears threatening to spill. Mrs. Morrison leaned in, her gaze piercing. "You need to think about what's best for this family, not just your career ambitions." I felt trapped. "This is who I am, and I won't give it up, not for anyone," I snapped, anger and desperation fueling my words. I was fighting for more than just my career. I was fighting for my identity. David stood abruptly, his body tense. "You just don't get it, do you? You're putting your career above everything else. Marriage is about sacrifice. In that instant, I saw his mother's influence twisting his perception of our marriage into something suffocating. I had always believed we were a team, but now I felt like a stranger in my own life. Sacrifice shouldn't mean losing yourself, I retorted, my cheeks burning. I deserve to have my dreams too. The argument reached its peak, and in a shocking moment, David reached for the cake and, in a blind rage, threw it directly onto my head. Gasps echoed around the restaurant, silencing conversations. I stood there, covered in cake, feeling humiliated. For a moment, the world seemed to freeze. My heart pounded, and I felt the betrayal sting more than any physical pain. As I stood there, tears streaming, I realized this was a turning point. The trust I once had in David crumbled. I pushed the cake off my face, heart racing, a surge of resolve rising within. I couldn't let this define me. I would reclaim my life. The evening had begun with excitement, but ended in chaos. As I left the restaurant, a whirlwind of emotions coursed through me, anger, fear, and a glimmer of hope. It was time for a change, and I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. As I stumbled out into the night, the cool air grounded me in reality. Humiliation washed over me, not just because of David's actions, but because of how the entire evening unfolded. What should have been a celebration had turned into a nightmare. As I drove home, I replayed the events repeatedly in my mind. How had it come to this? The man I loved had thrown a cake at me, and his mother's influence had turned him against me. I thought about the life we had built together and the dreams I had once cherished. Now, I felt like a ship adrift at sea. When I finally reached home, the silence was deafening. I dropped my keys on the counter and sat down, still in shock. The walls seemed to close in, and I could hear my own heartbeat echoing in my ears. I pulled out my phone and stared at the screen. No messages from David, no apologies, no concern, nothing. I called my closest friend and colleague, Emma. I needed someone to talk to, someone who would understand. After a few rings, she picked up. Amanda, is everything okay? Her voice was filled with worry. No, Emma, it's not. You won't believe what just happened, I stammered, my voice trembling. What happened? Are you all right? She pressed. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I announced my promotion at our anniversary dinner, and everything spiraled out of control. Mrs. Morrison lashed out, and then David. He threw the cake at me, I whispered, disbelief still coloring my tone. A heavy silence hung in the air for a moment. Oh my God, Amanda, are you hurt? She asked, alarm rising. I'm fine physically, but emotionally, I don't know. I feel like everything I believed about our marriage has crumbled, I admitted, my voice breaking. Listen, you need to get out of that situation. You don't deserve to be treated like this, Emma said firmly, her words a lifeline pulling me back from the edge of despair. I know, but it's complicated. We've been together for years, and I thought we were happy, I replied, voice cracking under the weight of emotion. Sometimes the people we love can change, especially under pressure. You need to think about what's best for you now, she urged gently. As I listened, a wave of realization washed over me. I had sacrificed so much for this relationship, and now I was left feeling lost and alone. I think I need to speak to a divorce attorney, I whispered finally, the words tasting foreign yet strangely liberating. Do it. I'll be here for you every step of the way, Emma assured me. You deserve happiness. After hanging up, I felt a mix of fear and determination. The thought of taking that step terrified me, but it was also empowering. I knew I had to reclaim my life, and that meant making hard choices. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy heart, but a clearer mind. I called a divorce attorney recommended by Emma. Hello, my name is Amanda. I need to file for divorce, I said as soon as the call connected. Understood. Can you come in this afternoon to discuss the details? The attorney replied. Yes, I'll be there, I responded, hanging up with a sense of resolve. I was taking control one step at a time. At work, I tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, but I felt the weight of the previous night's events pressing down on me. My boss, Mr. Davidson, noticed my distraction during the morning meeting. "Amanda, is everything all right? You seem a bit off today," he asked gently. "I'm dealing with some personal issues, but I'll manage," I replied, forcing a smile. "You know you can talk to me if you need to," he offered, his tone warm and understanding. "Thank you, Mr. Davidson. I appreciate it," I said, feeling grateful for his support. It was comforting to know I had allies at work. Later that day, Emma surprised me with lunch. "I thought you could use a break," she said, sliding into the chair across from me. "How did the meeting with the attorney go?" "I haven't gone yet," I admitted. "I'm nervous about what's next." "Just take it one day at a time. You're stronger than you think, Amanda," she encouraged. Her words sparked a tiny flame of hope. As the afternoon wore on, I lost myself in my work, trying to escape the emotional turmoil churning inside. I focused on numbers, spreadsheets, and analysis, anything to keep my mind occupied. Finally, it was time for my appointment with the attorney. I took a deep breath before stepping into the office, my heart pounding. The attorney, a poised middle-aged woman named Susan, greeted me with a warm smile. "Let's get started," Susan said, her tone professional yet empathetic. "Tell me what's been going on." I poured out my story, detailing the emotional and mental struggles I had faced. As I spoke, a sense of empowerment grew within me. I wasn't just a victim anymore, I was taking action. "Amanda, it sounds like you've made the right choice for yourself. You deserve to be in a healthy, supportive environment," Susan said, her words resonating deeply. After our meeting, I left the office feeling a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. I had taken a significant step toward reclaiming my life. The path ahead would be challenging, but I was ready to face it. I would no longer be defined by someone else's expectations. I would find my voice, my strength, and my freedom. The weeks following that anniversary dinner were a whirlwind of emotions and hard decisions. After meeting with Susan, my divorce attorney, I began the grueling process of separating my life from David. Each day felt like a tug-of-war between dread and hope, a battle between my fears and my determination to reclaim my identity. At work, I immersed myself in projects, driven by my fresh promotion. I wanted to prove myself, not just to others, but to myself. Mr. Davidson continued to check in on me. "Amanda, you're doing exceptional work. If you ever need to talk, I'm here," he said one afternoon. "Thank you, Mr. Davidson. I appreciate your support," I replied sincerely. One evening, Emma texted me, "Let's celebrate your new beginning. Drinks this weekend?" Her message made me smile. I needed an escape and a chance to feel normal again. "Absolutely. I could use some fun," I replied, excitement bubbling within me. That Saturday, we met at a lively bar downtown. The atmosphere was welcoming, and I felt a rush of energy as I walked in. Emma waved from a corner table, and I joined her, feeling the weight of the past few weeks begin to lift. "Cheers to new beginnings," Emma exclaimed, raising her glass. "To new beginnings," I echoed, clinking my glass against hers. We chatted about work, my promotion, and the future. I revealed my plan to start a mentorship program for young women in finance. "I want to help them navigate the challenges I've faced," I shared. "That's a brilliant idea. You'd be an amazing mentor," Emma encouraged. As the evening went on, I felt lighter and more like myself again. I was rediscovering my passions and dreams. The laughter and connection with Emma were exactly what I needed to reignite my spirit. The following week, I met with Rachel, an industry contact who had invited me to speak at a conference. "I'm so glad you decided to join us, Amanda. Your story can inspire so many," she said as we settled into a cozy cafe. "I hope so. I want to empower others to find their voices," I replied, feeling a surge of determination. As the conference date approached, I meticulously prepared my speech, weaving in the lessons I had learned. The night before, I practiced in front of the mirror, a blend of nerves and excitement swirling within me. On the day of the conference, as I stood backstage waiting for my turn, I took a deep breath, reminding myself of how far I had come. When the host introduced me, I stepped onto the stage, greeted by a round of applause from the packed auditorium. "Thank you for having me," I began, scanning the sea of faces. "I stand here today, not as a victim, but as someone who chose to reclaim her life and use her experience to empower others. My journey wasn't easy, but it taught me that our voices matter. We deserve to be heard, to be seen, and to chase our dreams unapologetically." I shared my story, the highs and lows, the pain and the victories. As I spoke, I felt a sense of purpose infuse every word. By the time I finished, the audience was on their feet, the applause echoing through the hall. Women approached me afterward, sharing their stories and thanking me for my honesty. I realized then that my pain had transformed into a source of strength, not just for myself, but for others as well. In the days following the event, I received messages from women across the country who had been moved by my speech. They wanted to join my mentorship program, to learn how to navigate the professional world with confidence and resilience. My small initiative had blossomed into something much larger than I had ever anticipated. Even though I was thriving, David's shadow still loomed occasionally. I'd see his name pop up in emails or hear through mutual friends that he was struggling to move on. But I remained steadfast. I had made my choice, and I wasn't going to look back. One evening, as I sat in my cozy apartment, reflecting on everything that had happened, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I was no longer defined by the hurt David had caused. I had built something meaningful, not just for myself, but for others too. My life was full of purpose, and I had found my voice again. A few months later, my program received a nomination for a prestigious award recognizing contributions to gender equality in the workplace. I was stunned and humbled. When the night of the award ceremony arrived, I found myself surrounded by supportive colleagues and friends, including Emma, who had been my rock through everything. The host called my name, and I made my way to the stage, the applause filling my ears. "I'm honored to receive this award," I said, gripping the microphone. "But this isn't just my achievement. It's the achievement of every woman who has ever been told that her dreams were less important, that her voice didn't matter. We all deserve to be heard, and we all deserve to succeed." Tears pricked my eyes as I spoke. This moment was more than I could have ever imagined. I was no longer just Amanda, the woman who had struggled to find her place. I was Amanda, a mentor, an advocate, and a beacon of hope for others. As I stepped off the stage, Emma enveloped me in a tight hug. "You did it," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "We did it," I corrected, smiling through the happy tears. "I couldn't have gotten here without you." In the months that followed, my life continued to evolve. The mentorship program expanded, reaching even more young women eager to learn and grow. I traveled to different cities, sharing my story and connecting with others who had faced similar struggles. One day, after wrapping up a workshop in New York, I received an unexpected call. It was from a major publishing company interested in turning my story into a book. They believed my journey could inspire countless others, and they wanted to share it with a broader audience. I was speechless. Writing a book had never crossed my mind, but the opportunity felt like the culmination of everything I had been working toward. I agreed, and soon, I found myself poring over my experiences, each chapter a testament to resilience and growth. When the book was published, it received an overwhelming response. Readers from all over the world reached out, sharing how my story had given them hope and courage. I knew then that I had truly turned a painful chapter of my life into something positive. The book's success opened new doors. I was invited to speak on television, attend major events, and consult with companies on how to create more inclusive work environments. My life, once so broken and uncertain, had transformed into a journey of purpose and empowerment. Years passed, and one sunny afternoon, as I stood in front of a room filled with eager young women at a mentorship event, I realized how far I had come. The woman who had once been humiliated and cast aside was now a symbol of resilience. I had reclaimed my life, found my voice, and in the process, had become a guiding light for others. Looking out at the sea of faces, I felt a swell of pride and gratitude. Remember, I told them, my voice steady and strong. Your story is yours to write. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Chase your dreams, speak your truth, and never settle for anything less than what you deserve. The room erupted in applause, and as I looked around, I knew that this was just the beginning. My story wasn't just about overcoming a toxic relationship. It was about rediscovering who I was and using that strength to build something beautiful. Standing there, I felt a deep sense of peace. The future was wide open, and I was ready to embrace every challenge and triumph that lay ahead.